What is up, Podvengers? Welcome back to another episode of the Podtastic Four. This is a talk show by fans for fans. This is a nerd culture podcast where we talk about everything Marvel, DC, Star Wars, video games, and more. My name is Matt Wahoo, aka the Great Blacksby. On behalf of everyone here, which is just Luis and I today, thank you for tuning in to another episode of your new favorite podcast. So we got something big today. Something big and something that probably could have been done a long time ago, considering when these movies came out. But nonetheless, we're still doing it because that's what we do. We talk about cool movies. For today's discussion, we're going to be going Mach 10 all the way through some cool films.
Nice.
We're going to be discussing the critically acclaimed Banshees of Inisherin. I hope I said that right. Inisherin. Yeah, Inisherin. The blockbuster mega hit sequel, Top Gun Maverick, and the biographical war film Devotion, plus a lot more other stuff that's been going on in the movie, pop culture, music, everything world. Before we get to our discussion, we have a section of this show that we use to highlight moments in pop culture history that occurred on this date. On this date you listen to this podcast, this episode dropped December 9th. A Charlie Brown Christmas special, a Charlie Brown Christmas premiered on CBS in 1965. I said Christmas special because we talked about the Guardians holiday special in our last episode. I'm still high on that. It's really good. Good grief. Let's see what else happened. We had movies came out on the same day in 1983, mind you. Scarface, Sudden Impact, and Christine. All of those are solid films. Scarface, if you know, Tony Montana, say hello to my little friend. All that. Sudden Impact, you got Dirty Harry. Which quotes from Sudden Impact? It's not "Do you feel lucky?" It's "Make my day." Make my day is from Sudden Impact. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I've seen that. And then Christine has that one. It's the haunted car, isn't it? Is that the ghost car movie? I'm pretty sure it's a ghost car movie.
It is.
Where the car's like possessed. Did you know that scene?
It
that
is a
vehicle,
possessed car.
Yeah. Did you know that that was kind of the inspiration for the Batmobile in Matt Reeves' The Batman? How it showed up in the alley over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was
read that.
cool. It was really cool. Along with those three movies, on this date in pop culture, we had some pretty famous birthdays. We had actress Dame Judi Dench, born in 1934. That's my favorite M from the.
Damn.
Yeah, I know, right? I didn't know she's.
Damn, 1934.
She's been around for a while.
Riding dinosaurs to school back
She,
then.
she had a good long career. That's
I love her. I love Dame
Judi
Dench.
That's my favorite M from the Bond films.
Yeah, that's the GOAT.
That's the GOAT. Also, did you know she was in Pirates of the Caribbean?
I don't remember that. Who was she?
Yeah, she was in I think it was Pirates 4 on Stranger Tides. Whenever Jack was in London.
No, I started falling off after like the third one. I was just like, I think I've had my fill of Pirates movies.
That's honestly the place where everyone fell off. That's a safe space.
Okay.
But yeah, she's in Pirates. And then let's see who else was born. John Malkovich was born in 1953. Another GOAT, another legend.
John Malkovich.
And then actress Felicity Huffman was born in 1962.
Nice.
Additionally, on this day in 1992, Prince Charles and Princess Diana, may she rest in peace, formally announced their separation.
Power queen.
She's iconic, absolutely iconic. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that happened in pop culture history on December 9th.
Since this is a film intensive, film heavy episode, I just thought it would be imperative that we mention some of the major releases that were coming out this weekend that we think you should check out. As we mentioned in the previous episode, Violent Night is currently in theaters along with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Please check out a movie, A Strange World. It's a Disney Pixar movie. Or it
Animation, big
yeah,
animation.
yeah. It's not doing very well, but that's due to the horrendous marketing campaign behind it. But it's got people like Jabuki Young White, Jake Gyllenhaal. Um, what's his name? He's from Houston. I forget his name.
There's a lot of
Uh,
from Houston's.
the
I'm from
older
Houston.
old white actor. What's his name?
There's a lot of
He's
old white
super
actors
famous.
from Houston.
I forget my. I'm. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm sorry. I messed that up. But please watch it. It's and it's got the first queer person of color lead in a Disney animated movie. So it's very important. We go out and check that out. But if you haven't done so yet, please check out episode one for our thoughts on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Just a little plug there. There are a few new films that are releasing this weekend. Today, Sam Mendes's Empire of Light and Darren Aronofsky's The Whale both released this weekend in moderate and limited releases, respectively. Both of these movies are huge awards contenders. Sam Mendes sorry, I'll get that to that later. But also Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio releases this weekend via Netflix. So all three of these films are definitely awards contenders. As you may or may not know, Sam Mendes is an Oscar mainstay, and every movie he releases has potential to be nominated. Combine that with the fact that Olivia Colman is in this film, and you've got a pretty good chance of garnering nominations. She won the Oscar for The Favorite, and I think what was it, 2019? I think I might be wrong about that, but she's also been nominated a couple more times after that. So she is probably a lock for a Best Actress nomination, especially considering that the awards race in that category is kind of slim this year.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Brendan Fraser is one of this year's frontrunners for Best Actor. So, although The Whale has received mixed reviews, it seems Fraser is the one constant, with his performance being hailed as one of the best parts of the movie. And as many of you know, Guillermo del Toro is one of the those filmmakers who's adored by all. He's not only incredibly talented, but he's a huge fan of cinema, and he's a very endearing and kind man. His adaptation of Pinocchio is being universally lauded, which is incredibly exciting because I'm a big fan of him and
Hmm.
a big fan of that story, and I'm so glad that it's getting positive reviews. If you're a fan of Pinocchio or just want to see what a master operating at the top of his craft can bring to you, then make sure to check out this film this weekend. You definitely will not regret it. So those are just a couple of films that we think you guys should keep your eyes peeled for that are coming out, and that you guys should definitely check out.
I'm definitely excited to see uh Guillermo's take on Pinocchio because we had the live action Disney one came
That
out.
absolutely atrocious, horrendous
I still haven't seen
version.
it, so I don't know.
It's
And
really,
then
really bad.
the other one, the whose was it? With the where was it a Lionsgate film? I'm pretty sure he was like, "Father, when can I leave and be on my own? I have
Oh
the
yeah,
whole
that
world."
yeah, 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 yeah. The
We
memes
had like,
coming out of that one were amazing.
yeah, we had like three different versions come out, and this one's particularly interesting to me because I think it's a stop motion one, right?
Yeah,
This
stop
one where
motion
you stop
animation.
motion. Yeah, I love things that are stop motion animation. It's probably one of my favorite because it's so meticulous and it takes a lot
Uh-huh.
of time.
Yeah,
But
it's
that
very.
makes you as a viewer appreciate the craft even more because you're
Well,
like
see, but
these guys
that's
are
the
moving
thing.
things one
At
by
least you
one.
appreciate it, right? Like most people who
Hmm.
watch like films or like stop motion animation movies, like aren't they're. I mean, they're not really concerned about the work it takes to like make these things happen or bring these things to life, you know. So,
Well,
but yeah, yeah, but I
that's what
mean,
we're here for. That's
but the
our
fact,
that's our purpose here with
but
this podcast.
the fact that you do look into things like that, I think is very um, exciting, right? Because
Hmm.
like I said, not a lot of people realize the amount of work and craft that stop motion films take forever to make. Sorry,
Hmm.
they're so time consuming and, like you said, so meticulous. I can't even begin to imagine how they do it. It must be exhausting.
Stressful. To answer your question about the old actor from Houston, I don't know why this didn't click when you first said it.
Dennis
Dennis
Quaid,
Quaid,
yes,
yeah.
Dennis Quaid.
I was like old actor. I was like, who else is in this movie? There's a bunch of old people who are from Houston. There's
No,
old white
yeah,
people from Houston, but who's in this movie?
Dennis
And
Quaid,
my
Dennis
mind
Quaid.
I had to like cook up the gears were turning in my head. I was like, who is from Houston?
I put
Who
my
do I know?
spot. I really psyched myself. I know Dennis Quaid's name. I just don't know why I blanked.
Yeah, Petite Huey's father in real life.
Yeah, Huey's
Dennis
father,
Quaid,
Dennis
Jack
Quaid.
Quaid, Jack Quaid. If you're seeing or hearing this podcast, come
What's up?
on, man.
What's
Come
up?
say what's
Yeah.
up. Come hang with us.
Come through.
Come chat with us, bro. Um, anyways, don't mind my terrible British accent, but thank you for that segment, Luis. That's great. If y'all don't know from our first episode, we kind of hinted, but Luis is our film guy. He's our resident amateur critic. He's doing
Very,
air quotes right now.
very, very big air quotes. I just
He's
like
doing air
movies.
quotes. He has a very good appreciation, and that's something that you don't see a lot nowadays. People just kind of go into movies, watch it, and then leave. They
He
don't
has a very big
really.
appreciation. The guy who literally just forgot Dennis Quaid's name.
Hey man, look, listen. It's
And can't remember what year Olivia Colman won the Oscar for Best Actress. Yeah, well, off to a wonderful
are you
start,
gonna let
Luis.
me? Are you gonna let me applaud you, or you?
Off to a wonderful start, Luis.
Oh man, but yeah, he does have a. We do tend to try and branch out from the main. I don't want to say mainstream, but like the main blockbuster movies that come out. You know, the Marvels and DCs and whatever other main large films. We try and tap into. I don't want to say smaller or lesser known things, but things that most people wouldn't think of seeing immediately unless you are a fan of, you know, A24 or whatever. A24 is kind of big now too. I can't even lie. But
Yeah.
anyways, we do we do, like I said earlier, like I said before, we are trying to continue and touch on various things outside of just the main movies that everyone likes to watch. With that being said, before we get into that discussion, this is your spoiler warning, Podvengers. As always, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen Banshees, Devotion, or you are that one person who still hasn't seen Top Gun Maverick to this point, which honestly you have no excuse because that movie is in theaters for like the third or fourth time this year
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, they're milking the shit out of that movie.
They love it. It's good. I watched it who knows how many times, but
But
go
to be
watch
honest,
those.
if I was Tom Cruise, I would be pushing for it too. Because didn't he make like $100 million off of Top
It
Gun
is.
Maverick?
We're gonna.
We'll discuss
We'll
that
save
later.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
save that for
ahead of
the save.
myself, my man.
Save that for the after
For
this little spoiler warning. But yeah, go and watch those movies before you listen to the rest of this episode. You cannot say we didn't warn you. With that being said, let's
Also,
get
we will
into it.
discuss The Fablemans as well. So
Oh yes,
if you haven't seen that movie, we will be discussing it and probably spoiling that as well. So,
yeah. I
and
think
if you're, for the 65-year-old audience members that are watching and listening to this, we will ruin that movie for you. So, you've been warned, Grandpa.
but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because it completely slipped my mind because we were so busy, you know, talking about the other films coming out.
Hmm.
You know, these are exciting movies, but this is another thing I want to talk about because it's a Steven Spielberg film, man. It's a great film.
What's your relationship to Steven Spielberg? Do you have a? Because let me
Oh,
just say that
I thought you meant like
no,
like
yeah, yeah,
it's not I'm not
personally, yeah,
related.
that's your boy.
That's my uncle actually, Uncle Steve. I call him. Um,
Very hot
you
take.
know,
I'm going to say that I didn't grow up on Steven Spielberg movies, so in my head, he's like incredibly overrated. I know that's insane to say. Let me just preface this by saying I think he's incredibly. I understand how iconic he is, how legendary he is, and what he means to Hollywood and the state of movies and movie making, and just like what a legend he is. And I do think he's incredibly talented and a fantastic filmmaker. I just didn't grow up on his movies, and I didn't get to them until much later in life, right? So by the time you watch Jaws and you're 24 years old, it's lost a lot of that magic and that allure, right? As if then if you were to watch it when you were 5 6 years old, right? Same thing with Jurassic Park, right? And ET and things of that nature, so that's just to say. But did you grow up with Steven Spielberg movies? Like, were you big on him
you know,
growing up?
more or less. I kind of grew up with. Um, let's see. I'm trying to think as far back as
ET
there's
you
a.
probably watched, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
Jurassic
ET. I
Park.
definitely watched ET in Jurassic Park, but that was so many years ago, man. I need to go watch it again. I
Hmm.
can't even lie. I don't remember most of the storylines,
Yeah,
but that's probably because my brain is deteriorating as I get older.
right.
I'm
It's Alzheimer's.
26. I'm 26. How can my brain be deteriorating? But I've seen, Jaws. I wasn't allowed to watch Jaws when I was younger because it was scary.
Right.
But all his other films, they just stick out to me. Indiana Jones is probably one of my favorite
Yeah.
series
You know,
series is that
series
he's
is.
in something that he crafted up well. Him and George Lucas, shout out Lucasfilm. Um, that's one and we got the fifth one coming out. The
Yeah.
fifth one's coming out in 20 next year,
Mhm.
2023. But yeah, Indiana
Okay. So
Jones,
you had a little
War of
bit
the
more of a
Worlds.
you had a bit more of a relationship with him than I did growing up. I mean, I know a lot of his fans have been kind of like not disappointed, but have been kind of like yeah, disappointed in the sense that, you know, a lot of his movies in like the last 10, 15 years haven't been that great, you know, and it seems like The Fablemans is a return to form. I know a lot of people who are Spielberg fans are really like this movie and think it's like one of his better contemporary movies or movies that he's made in recent years, you know, because looking back, he made Ready Player One,
Yeah.
which was you know the least said about Ready Player One, the better. He's made. I like War of the Worlds, but a lot of people don't like it. You know, Munich, um, Lincoln, the BFG, you know, Hook, and these aren't bad movies per se, but you know these are some people when you make Jaws and you make Schindler's List and you make Jurassic Park and you make E.T. and Saving Private Ryan, you know, like it's hard to follow that up. So of course there's a period in there. War Horse is another one of his much maligned movies. But like I said, The Fablemans is a nice return to form. I don't think you've seen it yet, have you?
No, not yet. I've been trying to see it, but because
Mhm.
it's work schedule, life,
It's cool.
everything's getting in the way. But
I won't spoil it too much, but you know, I just think it's you know, it's what I found very interesting about it was that it's basically like an autobiographical movie about Steven Spielberg's childhood and his relationship to his parents, essentially, right?
that's
And how he fell in love with filmmaking and how and why he decided to become a filmmaker, right? So it's very, very Oscar bait, you know. You have a movie from one of the greatest living filmmakers, making an autobiographical movie, which seems like directors have been are on a run. You know, Alfonso Cuarón did it with Roma. Iñárritu's doing it with Bardo. We had Kenneth Branagh do it with um, I'm blinking that movie. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But so it seems like directors are on a roll. So that in and of itself, I think draws a lot of attention. But like I said, considering that I wasn't a big, huge Spielberg head, I was really impressed with the Fablemans. You know, I think what I found really interesting was that it doesn't see his childhood through rose-colored glasses. You know, it doesn't paint his parents in a particularly favorable light. You know, um, he is able to kind of like look back and reflect on his childhood and his relationship with his parents and his parents' relationship with each other, and realize that you know, despite how much he loved them and despite how much they loved him and his sisters, you know, they were human beings, and with that entails a lot of uh, nuance, right? And a lot of gray. And I think it handled that aspect of the film very well. And getting actors such as Michelle Williams and Paul Dano to portray your parents, who are incredible, some of the best actors working today. I think really paid dividends because you know Paul Dano wasn't given an awful lot to do, and this is really the Michelle Williams show. But you know, it was a great film. It's technically incredibly well made. No one can ever argue that. Tony Kushner is an amazing screenwriter, so you know you're going to have fantastic dialogue and you're going to have fantastic cinematography. And it was just I was really impressed with it, and I went into it expecting not an awful lot because the marketing for this movie is has been atrocious as well, and they don't really know how to sell this movie. They haven't really known exactly what tone to nail or how to. But if you go into this movie and just kind of let it wash over you, I think you will be incredibly impressed because it is very traditional in that it's very heartwarming and it pulls at the heartstrings and it's very optimistic, and it ends on an optimistic note. And there is a lot of like mythology and myth building in regards to like Steven Spielberg and his life and his career, and so that's very like kind of like cheesy and hokey, but Steven Spielberg is a filmmaker and a man from a different time. So, it makes sense that he would make a film like that. But it is very endearing, and I think it's very good. I really enjoyed it. It's
And
not
what's
it's not one of my top five best movies of the year, but I had a fantastic time, and it was very well made.
and that's good though. That's still something, it's still something worth seeing. It's not like we've been I want to say we've been inundated with action movies or those big name blockbuster films this year, but it's good to kind of step away from that for a second and watch something that's got a little bit more, I don't want to say heart, or a little bit more emotion. Dang, all the other films that we're going to talk about have all the same things.
No, I get what you're saying. No,
It's a
no,
little
but
bit more, it's a little bit more intimate as far as you get to see like the director's like hand is in this for real. And
mhm.
yes, the director's hand is in the movie, but like for this being a
Art.
semi autobiographical film about Steven Spielberg and his life and his entrance into filmmaking, this probably sticks out a lot more
Mhm.
than him making a movie about another filmmaker. If
Right,
he made a movie about James Cameron or somebody,
right,
some random pick any random
dude.
director. But yeah, I would definitely. I wanted to check this out. I saw Paul Dano was attached to it, and I was like, man. Whenever I saw him in the Batman, I was like, that's my guy. I already
He's
know
amazing. Paul
the
Dano's been
GOAT.
amazing in everything he's in.
He's fantastic. He is
Yeah,
so good, and I will definitely be seeing this not just for him, but for everybody involved. Like you mentioned, Tony Kushner. I have high regard for everybody involved in this movie, so I'm excited. Speaking of another movie that I have in high regard, I still have yet to see, the Banshees of Inisherin.
yeah.
This
Let
is
me
one
just
of the.
mention. Sorry,
Oh,
let
go
me just
ahead.
mention really quick the guy who plays basically the Steven Spielberg equivalent in The Fablemans is an actor named Gabriel LaBelle, and he is amazing. Absolutely, like amazing. He's fantastic. That kid, yeah, he's about to. He's got a very long and very
Successful
successful
career.
career ahead of him. Yeah, that kid's great. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to
No,
give him
you're
his
good.
flowers
You're
really quick.
good. You're good. Yeah. Hopefully we see him in more projects moving forwards and soon, because I'd like to see some new, fresh faces. Yeah, I'd like to see all the other people we've been seeing for years and years on end, but I want to see new talent. That's one of the things I always harp on when I go into Marvel movies and DC and whatever film, what film, you name any other film that comes out. I'm always like, I want to see new faces for a little bit.
Yeah,
But yeah, but that's the Fablemans. The Banshees of Inisherin. Like I said, it's another film I haven't seen, but I've been all over the reviews, all over the web about it. Um, Colin Farrell, he's just having a stellar year, man.
yeah.
He's out there.
He was in
Do,
After
do do
Yang,
do
which is
we
a
say
movie that
do we
came out earlier
say
this year.
do we say best actor for him too? Are we considering him for best actor?
Yeah, there's a lot of uh, uh, momentum and a lot of push for him to win Best Actor this year. Prior to the season starting, there was a lot of people saying that this was Brendan Fraser's award to lose. But when Banshees came out and the reviews came out and people started seeing Colin Farrell's performance, that quickly the tides quickly shifted, and now it's a toss up, and either one of them could take the award. I think it helps Colin Farrell that Banshees is a lot more well received than The Whale. The
Mm-hmm.
Whale, you know, given that it's an Aronofsky film, tends to uh, could be kind of alienating to some, and a lot of people aren't really it's not working for them and they aren't vibing with it. And so uh Banshees of Inisherin is a lot more, it's not an easy watch per se, that's not what I'm trying to say, but it is a lot more uh the consensus is a lot more positive, and people are enjoying that movie a lot more and are liking it a lot more, and so I think that helps in that helps Colin in regards to Best Actor because when people are voting, they're going to vote for the movie that they liked, right? If you have a toss up between these two actors whose performances you really enjoy, you're probably going to pick the movie that liked a lot more than the movie that you were iffy on. So, but
This is true.
yeah, have you ever seen any of Martin McDonagh's other movies? Have you seen In Bruges, Three Billboards, Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Seven Psychopaths?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't.
No,
Not
you're
yet.
cool. You're good. You're good.
But this has probably been my first foray into
Into Martin
Martin's
McDonagh.
work.
Yeah.
And like, it would have been it would probably be it's gonna be a very good, I guess it'd be a good starting point for me, you
It
know.
is. Yeah. I think it's a great starting point. Martin McDonagh, he was actually started off as a playwright.
Mm,
And
okay.
that's how I first found out about him, because I'm an actor or whatever. And I did, when I was in college, we were doing uh I remember my director was talking about doing one of his plays called A Behanding in Spokane. And so that's how I first found out about him. And then I realized he'd made movies and I started getting really into them. But Banshees of Inisherin is one of the best movies of the year, hands down. It's amazing. It's beautifully written, it's beautifully shot, beautifully directed, beautifully acted. Everybody in this movie is so locked in. There's not one bad line delivery, not one bad performance. Barry Keegan, I forget, I don't know how to pronounce his name. The Joker from the
Keely,
Batman,
yeah,
Barry Keogh.
Barry. Oh
He's in
man,
it. He's fantastic. The
when
entire cast is amazing. And I know a lot of people were kind of iffy on Martin McDonagh as a filmmaker, just
mhm.
because that's a very hard transition to make from stage to screen, and so they felt like his filmic mind wasn't really developed enough, or what he put on stage on the page, he wasn't able to really translate onto the screen. But man, I don't know what he did between Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is kind of a people's reactions to it were kind of mixed, right? Um, I don't know what he did from that movie to this one. He man, his eye for his compositional eye has grown tremendously. Every shot in this, to put it simply, every shot in this film looks like a screensaver, right? It's set on a little island off the coast of Ireland, and it's about two friends who um, one of the friends decides he wants nothing to do with the other one, and he threatens that if he doesn't stop talking to him, he will cut off one of his fingers each time he approaches him. And so it's a dark comedy,
intense.
Yeah, it's a dark comedy, as a lot of Mark McDonagh's work tends to be, and the way it grapples, masculinity and friendship between men and an artist's relationship to their art, and what one is willing to sacrifice for said art, and life and time, and how much of that do we have, and all these things. It encapsulates all that beautifully and eloquently in an incredibly dark and funny way, and I think it might be a hard sell, and I probably didn't sell it all that well, but I do think that, for example, you who's never been exposed to Martin McDonagh, I think it's such a beautiful way to step into his work, and if you like this, then definitely check out all his other movies, especially In Bruges, which I think is probably his most famous movie. But man, this is for sure one of the best of the year for sure. This is one of my
I
top five for sure.
I think you explained it well enough to where I was already gonna watch it, but now I'm like, I'm gonna watch it. I really want to watch it even more. It sucks that it's currently out of theaters. However, it's gonna be on, I don't know which streaming service. It's supposed to be coming to streaming here in a couple of weeks. I'm
It'll
pretty
probably be
sure.
on
Probably
video
next
on
week.
VOD as well. So if you're
Yeah.
willing to
So
shell a couple bucks to watch it, I definitely recommend it.
no problem. There's go to the little red box or whatever blockbuster, the last
Yeah.
blockbuster that exists on earth, and
Is
find
there still one?
it. There's
Or
one. I can't remember where, but there's still one. I'm pretty sure.
they're making a Netflix show about that, actually, right?
They already did. Yeah, they already got one. It's out now. I heard it was trash, but
Oh, well,
I
there
want to
you
see
go.
for myself. We'll see. We're gonna take a quick little break, and then we will get into the next part of our discussion and talk to you guys about Top Gun Maverick, Devotion, and some other things that are coming up. We're back with another section of episode 3 of the Podtastic Four. We're going to pick up right where we left off. We finished talking to you guys about The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg's semi-autobiographical film. I can't talk today. The
I know,
Banshees
man.
of Inisherin. Um, very, very great. Two good works by some two awesome directors. And now we're diving into the main event, Top Gun Maverick and Devotion. These are some military centric films. If you haven't seen the OG Top Gun by now, I don't know what you're doing, where you are, if you're under a rock, but it was on Netflix for a good chunk of time. It was on HBO, and right before the second one, Top Gun Maverick, came out, they took it off. Suspicious coincidence? I
I
think
wonder.
not.
I wonder why
I
that is.
they're like, if you haven't seen it by now, it's too late.
It's too late.
So Top Gun Maverick came out back in May. This was an interesting time for me because I had just moved up to McKinney and I was trying to get my bearings in the area, and I knew that the sequel was coming. I just didn't know when I'd have time to see it. I saw it, I fell in love with it. I watched it like 50 times over the course of like 3 weeks. I'm gonna see
Damn,
it
dude.
again. I'm gonna watch it when it gets out on not DVD, on what's that thing
VOD.
called? Streaming. Yeah, VOD. I think it's already on VOD. I'm pretty sure. It's gonna be on streaming here soon on Paramount Plus, December 22nd. Remember that date. Um,
My boy
but
knows the
yeah,
date and everything.
dude, I'm ready. I'm prepared. I really did. I really did genuinely enjoy that film. You know, you got the superstar that is Tom Cruise, but you also have a supporting cast that is equally as good in this movie. It was well written. It was there were emotions. Yeah, there were emotions running. There were definitely emotions for an action film. There were some
Mhm.
emotions I felt. It was, it worked out pretty well. I liked it.
Yeah, I think
Um,
I think it hit. It hit at like the perfect time. You know, it was like they'd been holding on to this movie for what, 2 years? It was supposed to come out in 2020, right? But then the
yeah,
pandemic, hit, and they're like, "Oh no, no one's going to the movies. You know, people are dying. Let's not release this movie." And then I know Tom Cruise fought for them to keep. They're like, "No," he's like, "No, I want it to be released in movie theaters. I want it to be released in movie theaters." And he kept holding it and holding it and holding it and holding it. They held it for 2 years, and then they decided to drop it like right after vaccinations like became readily available, and the numbers, COVID numbers, started dropping. And so they're like, "Okay, this is time. This is the time." And when it it hit. And I think,
it.
like I said, it was at the perfect time because people were like, they'd been locked indoors for two
Mm-hmm.
years. You know, like they missed that communal experience of going to the movies and witnessing something together with a group of people. And then on top of that, it's a really good movie, right? That's very exciting and funny and action packed, and it's like exactly what you want from a movie going experience after you've been locked inside for 2.5 years. You know, so it's just like everything worked out for this movie perfectly, from Tom Cruise waiting to the moment they dropped it to the amount of money it made. It was just, and now
Everything
it's,
about it was just
yeah,
perfect.
and now there's talks about it possibly being a best picture nomination.
I see it.
Maybe,
I see it.
possibly. It would be, I think the Academy would be smart in nominating Top Gun, right? Because it's
Oh yeah.
the I think one of the highest grossing film of the year.
I think
It's
in one of the highest grossing films in history
of
too,
all
right?
time as well.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
I think it's made like $700 million domestically, something like
Dude,
that.
if you're asking me for numbers, I don't even know because like I
No.
said, they've put it in and they put it in theaters.
Yeah.
It was in theaters back in May. It was in theaters. I think they put it back in theaters again, like in IMAX or something, like a couple weeks after that. And it's in theaters right now. It's literally
Yeah,
going on screens right now
they're
before
milking it,
the drop
man.
of every penny that you got in your pocket is going
Hmm.
towards Top Gun, myself included. I
You're like
really
you're
do.
like you're like 50% of its gross.
Oh yeah, I think like that opening weekend, I did like 98% of the work, and then everybody else did the 2% because I was in that movie theater,
You're in
especially
there
after
every day.
that very first watch of Top Gun, the very first run through. Not know like I said, I've seen the OG Top Gun. For y'all, for those of y'all who haven't seen the last few episodes, I do love a lot of the '80s movies, Top Gun, Ghostbusters, all that, you name it. But and then Top Gun's one of those movies I watched. I was like, dude, I want to be a pilot. I'm gonna go join the Navy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go be
that
the
propaganda be
propaganda was
hitting,
good to
man.
me. I was like, I'm gonna
That
go be a
propaganda
pilot.
be
Let's
hitting.
do it. And then I was like, you know what? As I got older, I was like, I probably can't do this. And now I'm at the point where I'm too broken and beat up to be a pilot. But watching that movie made me feel those feelings again I had as a kid, and then
Cinema,
just
baby.
everything they
Cinema.
did in that movie. Yeah, cinema. It's peak cinema.
I
If
was
you
gonna
can't
ask,
see,
what do you think worked about Top Gun Maverick? Like, what did you like about it? Like, because
so
I know you're like, you ride hard for this movie. You're saying it's like
oh
one of
yeah,
your favorites of the year. And so I'm curious, like, what it is that you, what is it about it that you're just like, man, this movie's just, I love it so much.
So for a movie that came out, and mind you, we had let's see, one, two, three, four Marvel movies come out this year.
Yeah,
If you guys, everyone knows we're all big Marvel fans here too, but that movie stood out to me more so than even. And I love Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'm
right.
even willing to say that it was better. It's better than Wakanda Forever.
Of course.
Wakanda Forever is good in its own right in the avenue that they're going for.
Hmm.
But Top Gun Maverick as a movie overall, as cinema overall,
Hmm.
absolutely knocked out of the park this year. I
Right.
like you said, it's up there for best picture. The storyline, we're in kind of this age where we're getting a lot of sequels and rehashes of older movies.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of those sequels or rehashes don't really work so well. Some of them don't work well. Some of them do work really well, like
Hmm.
Ghostbusters Afterlife. I watched that. I was like, I was like,
Oof.
you
Oof.
know, I was like, who?
Hot take. Hot take.
I actually liked it. I liked it
Hmm.
enough to where I was like, okay, I see what they're trying to do. They're setting up. I almost said young Ghostbusters, like Young Avengers.
Young
This
Avengers.
Young Avengers. Yeah, they're setting up the next generation of Ghostbusters. Something for people to who haven't something for those of us who not those of us something for people who were kids in the 80s and watched this movie, or they
Yeah.
were adults in the 80s and now they have their own kids.
Hmm.
Something for their kids to watch in the future.
It was a
um
nostalgia play, right?
yeah,
It's
there's
there's
that's the word I was looking. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. There's a lot of nostalgia being used to make films these days, but to do it right, to do it that well,
yeah,
and for
Top
the
Gun did
movie
it
to kind
well.
of you can kind of watch Top Gun Maverick, and it can, even without knowing what happened in the first Top Gun, it can kind of be like its own standalone film.
Yeah,
You can go into that movie not knowing a single thing about
yeah.
the first film, and it's like, wow, this is such a cool story. Oh my god.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, the storyline was fantastic. I really, really love and appreciate them. Tom Cruise said he wasn't gonna. He was fighting to have Val Kilmer in this movie. For those of y'all who don't know, Val Kilmer's been fighting throat cancer. It's really affected his ability to speak.
Hmm.
It's kind of messed up him being in a lot of projects. I know, like the Willow show is out on Disney Plus right now, or
Hmm.
yeah, it's out on Disney Plus right now,
Yeah.
and he could have been in that because he was in the OG Willow back in insert the year here. It's not coming to me right now. It'll come to me
I
later. But
think it was in the
it's kind
80s
of,
too, right?
yeah. It was pretty. Isn't it? I think it was in the 80s. I'll look it up later. um, but Tom Cruise pushed for him to be in that movie. He wanted his wingman in there and to
And
include
that
him in
scene
that
and that
way.
scene is so affecting, it's like
It
so
is.
moving and it's so it's I guess a lot of you could say it's like very cheap and manipulative, right? Because they're like, oh, here we go, we got Val Kilmer from the original movie, and we
uh,
on if you're aware of what's going on with his situation, you kind of understand like but it's like it works, and I think that's why Tom Cruise and Joseph Kosinski were like the perfect people. I think Joseph Kosinski was the perfect guy to make this movie. It's because
Absolutely.
he completely listened to Tom Cruise and work. I think they collaborated very well, right? It's like they Tom Cruise knows how to make big budget movies. Like
Hmm.
that's his bread and butter. He knows how to make good movies. And Joseph Kosinski is a competent enough filmmaker to be like, yeah, I agree. Yes, that's a good idea. No, that's not a good idea. And Tom Cruise respects him enough to listen, and they work very well. And they just did the simple stuff very well,
And I
right? They're
think if
like,
they had thrown any other director, and this is like again, this is not to disrespect or shade or down talk any director, but if they had thrown any other director instead of Joseph Kosinski in this movie,
uh-huh.
it wouldn't have worked the same way.
Right.
That's
And
just
I'm
me
not,
personally. I don't
and
think it
I'm
would have worked the
see,
same
and I'm
way.
not particularly a big fan of Joseph Kosinski. I don't think he's incredibly
Mm.
like I think he's good, right? But it's like if you look at his track record, I think he directed Oblivion,
Which was
which is exactly. So it's not like you don't think
mm,
Joseph Kosinski fantastic filmmaker, right? But I think the fact that him and Tom Cruise have worked together previously and knew each other, and Tom Cruise obviously respected him. I don't know, it really worked. They figured out exactly what they needed to do. They entered this movie with a game plan, and and they just
they
made it
executed
work,
it
man.
well.
They
They
executed
executed
it
it
well.
very well.
Exactly. They executed it well.
And it helped that they had a stellar cast too.
Yeah.
I'm just going off the list of people: John Hamm, Kilometers Teller, Miles Teller. I always make that joke. Miles Teller, and this is probably my favorite role of his. Honestly,
Agreed.
out of
Same.
everything I've seen of him in, I really like this and the drum movie Whiplash.
No.
Those are my
Yeah.
two favorite. We're not going to talk about fan Fantastic or whatever that was.
Fan Force thing.
Fan Four Stick. But everything else, this and Whiplash are two of my favorite Miles Teller roles. And then Danny Ramirez, who is also Joaquin Torres in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier
There you
and Captain
go.
America: New World Order. I'm pretty sure he's gonna be in that movie too. Um, Glenn Powell, dude, freaking Glenn Powell is killing it this year.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick, Devotion. We're gonna talk about that here in just a second. I like Glenn Powell as an
Me too.
actor.
He's amazing.
He's a good dude too. He's a really nice guy. He seems pretty down to earth.
We're big
Um,
Glenn Powell heads on this podcast.
we're it's a Glenn Powell
He's
stan
from
account.
Austin, and so we're Texan as well, and so
We out here. We
we
have
got
to
to support our
represent.
fellow Texans. Yeah, we
And
love him. He's amazing.
he really sold his role as Hangman. And when I watched that movie the first time, I was like, dude, this guy's a dick. I don't like him. But
Hmm.
he matures. He matures. You can see
Right.
the growth towards the end of the movie.
I think
That's good acting.
that's a
That's
very good point that you made was just the supporting cast being very good. It's like that analogy that they use in basketball, right? It's like just all you got to do is just sign players who don't suck.
mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter who your superstars are, it doesn't matter who your two best players are. Just surround them with people who know how to play ball and who
And
won't
that's
and who don't suck. And that's exactly what they did. They surrounded Tom Cruise with people who don't suck, who showed up, they did their thing, they knew what they were doing, and they commanded the scene for as long as they were required to 1 minute, 2 minute, two scenes,
mm-hmm.
8 scenes, whatever. Everybody was Glenn Powell brought his A game, Miles Teller brought his A game, Danny Ramirez brought his A game. The gentleman from Insecure brought his A game. What's his name? He was in it too for a little bit. Jay Ellis, he
Yes.
brought his A game. Everybody, the supporting cast was great. Jennifer Connelly was
Oh yeah,
wonderful. She was
fantastic.
great. Exactly. So like I said, they did the simple things right. They wrote a solid script. They got a competent filmmaker, and they got good actors to be in the movie.
And then
That's how you make a good movie.
the way they just shot the movie too, all the various camera angles they use from within the fighter jets,
Yeah, the technical
every
aspect.
the scenes across, filming in filming on the cruisers and
Yeah.
at the base, like it was visually pleasing. It was something you watch, you're taking in every scene and you're
It's
like,
very
wow.
exhilarating as well.
Mm-hmm.
The action scenes every time they're in a jet, the
Dude, and
fighter,
then watching it in XD, I was like, oh my god, this is
yeah.
incredible. The jets are
Yeah,
taking off, you're feeling it in your chest, and it's the same thing I said about the Batman when the Batmobile showed up, and we watched it in XD. I was like, oh my gosh, you can feel that in your chest. It was the same exact feeling,
yeah.
and that's just a really overall, it's a really good movie.
It's good blockbuster filmmaking. Yeah.
I don't think I have anything too negative to say about it.
Mhm.
Even the music was fantastic. The score, I mean, it's Hans Zimmer, bro.
Right.
Where are you gonna go wrong with Hans Zimmer?
Lady Gaga.
Lady
Lady
Gaga,
Gaga,
bro.
yeah.
And then they even threw in some songs from the Who, from T Rex. All right, bro, this is good music, dog. This is how you make a solid film.
So
Um,
considering you really like Top Gun, I don't think I've gotten your thoughts on Devotion. How did you feel about Devotion?
so Devotion, I mentioned it was a war biographical drama film. Um, Again, starring Glenn Powell, but starring Jonathan Majors. Now, Jonathan Majors quickly became one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
And I think we're stepping into the Jonathan Majors era for sure. After
Oh
seeing
yeah,
him
this
as
is.
He Who Remains in Loki, and then seeing where he's gonna be, what all the other films he's gonna be in, and all that stuff coming up, dude, he's about to take over.
Oh,
He's gonna
Jonathan Majors is that guy.
he's
He's
him.
that dude. He's him.
He is him.
Jonathan
And
Majors is that dude.
they put the I think they put the right people in this movie.
Hmm. But
I knew the storyline. I mean, I knew the storyline. I knew the backstory. I knew about uh, Ensign Jesse Brown, and Lieutenant Tom Hudner.
mhm.
Just from like the times I used to, you know how you like read stuff on the internet, you're just browsing through, like you end up in the Wikipedia wormhole, and you click one thing, and you click another thing, you
So
click another thing.
what's Devotion about? What would you say?
So devotion is about, there's the story that you saw, and then there's a story that I saw, not you,
No, no,
like you
like
personally, but like
just tell
sorry.
people like
So what
what it's about.
devotion is about a young black aviator flying in the Navy during a time where black aviators were not welcome.
He was the first black aviator,
The
right, for
first
the
black
Navy.
aviator.
And that's essentially what it's about. It's
And
about him dealing with the obvious, you
the
know,
elephant in the room, the
yeah, the obvious
racism.
racism and that he has to face being a black man who's also the first aviator in the United States Navy. And
and
then Glenn Powell's character kind of befriends him and they become good friends throughout.
Tom Hudner really fought for Jesse,
Hmm.
fought for him to be in. It was very, it was a very touching thing to see
It's a
him
very,
standing up for.
it's a very traditional and classical movie in that sense, and that
Hmm.
you have, the just, you have this character who's the world's out to get him, and he's fighting an uphill battle, and then you have this white character who is not a piece of shit, right, and sees him
Yeah,
as a human being and as his equal, if not better than him, and he kind of realizes, how amazing, um, Jesse, right, is at what he does, and extends a helping hand and an olive branch and decides to vouch for him, and be
and
his voice, be the voice to Jesse who was voiceless. So
be his
um
wingman.
yeah.
Be his
See,
wingman. He stood up
I
for him.
I like that aspect of it. I like Jonathan Majors, Jesse, right? And then what's Glenn
Hmm.
Powell's character's name?
It's Tom Hudner.
Tom Hudner. I like Jesse and Tom's relationship, and I like that aspect of the film. I think that was the most powerful part about it. Much unlike Top Gun, I think everything else just didn't really work. I think it got bogged down and tried doing too much. I think it didn't try spending too much time. I just think it moved really fast, and we didn't get time to sit with the characters, sit with these people, and kind of watch them grow. It was just like, oh, here we go, there we go, and now it's over. Like we didn't get enough time. We didn't spend enough time with Jesse's wife and his daughter, right? It seems like Jesse and Tom just kind of became friends out of nowhere. That
Yeah,
that relationship wasn't really established. They didn't really seem to establish any relationship or connections with the rest of their crew, of their flight crew, their battalion, the rest of the
yeah.
guys who are also part of the. It all seemed like those relationships were kind of thrown on the back burner. They're like, we have Jesse and Tom, and that's it. And we have these two fantastic actors and these two fantastic leading men, and we'll just kind of let them cook, and then we'll just pray for the best and hope it works. And so,
it's kind of like they put the stories out there and expected us to just fill in the blanks ourselves. That works
yeah.
well. That works really well with like Batman. You can drop
Hmm.
a Batman movie and have him be like 10 years into his career, and people will plug in where he's going, where things are
Right.
happening. With a story about somebody who most people probably do not know
Right.
without having to Google this information,
Yeah.
you gotta flesh these characters out, these people out. You gotta set up you gotta build the groundwork. Now,
Hmm.
I'm not saying make a devotion 2, devotion 3 and milk it
Right. Right.
out.
Right.
This is a biographical film. You want to try and tell as much of the story within
Hmm.
your 2 hour and 47 minutes, or however long the movie was. I think it was like 2 hours and 19 minutes. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. I could be confusing 15 different run times. I've been seeing movies
Right.
these last few weeks, but you want to try and tell the whole story from the ground up
Hmm.
in that window of time that you have. So what they could have done, um, I would have, me personally, I would have started off with Jesse alone. I would start explaining Jesse's background, him getting into the Navy, him fighting all the difficulties and hardships
Hmm.
and the discrimination, the racism. He wrote down. The movie said that he wrote down all the hateful words that were ever thrown at him. I wish
Yep.
they could have kind of built that up and then then got into him. Once they got into him being in the Navy, introduce or let me backtrack a little bit. um Build on how his wife and his child are the heart and soul of this movie. That's what they were talked about, being the heart and soul of the movie.
Yep.
But like you said, we never really got that until somewhere in the, I don't want to say the second act, somewhere in the second act. um it was kind of just kind of like dabbled in, and then they just left it until he tragically passed.
Yeah.
But I think what they should have done was definitely build that up, introduce Mrs. Brown, introduce Tom, and then build the flight team with him too.
Yeah.
There was an aviator who died. His name was Carol. We never got to see a real relationship grow between him and Jesse
But it
and
was established that
Tom. It
him
was
and Jesse were
established
like
that,
good friends, right? That there was
yeah,
a
it was kind of
relationship
it was
there.
kind of it was kind of established that there was already a relationship. Then it hit. You can see everyone was
Yeah.
sad about it, but it hit Jesse the most.
Yeah.
He was
Look,
crying.
that's not to say I didn't enjoy Devotion. I thought it was a very good movie, and I think JT Dillard did a
Hmm.
fantastic job. And a lot of this movie, the problem is that a lot of the movie relies on Jonathan Majors' phenomenal acting. He is incredible. He's an incredible performer, and he's incredible in this movie. But
Hmm.
a lot of it relies on him and the heavy lifting that he has to do. It's a Jonathan Majors extravaganza, and it's like, if you want to watch fantastic acting, come watch this movie and you'll be blown away by Jonathan Majors and what he does. And that's not particularly a bad thing about it, but like, it, Maverick delivers something completely different from Devotion, right? Devotion,
Hmm.
uh, Maverick delivers spectacle and awe, and Devotion does not. It doesn't rely on those heroic moments. It relies on Jesse and the internal and external struggles that he's dealing with, and Tom Hudner, and him and his struggles, and to what it means to be in his position and try to lend a helping hand and be a good wingman. So they do deliver different things, and they're both fantastic films in their own right. But it's just inevitable when you have two movies about Navy fighter pilots,
Hmm.
and both of them star Glenn Powell. It's just, how do you not compare the two? But I think they're both fantastic films in their own right.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Top Gun, and like we said, Top Gun definitely had the nostalgia factor running for it too. But even
Hmm.
minus the nostalgia factor, it was still such a very attractive movie. And you had mentioned, I think you mentioned that the marketing for this wasn't very up there too, right? Did you
Hmm.
say that about this? Yeah, I don't remember seeing much marketing for this until I was actually in the theater and I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, Jonathan Majors, I'm watching this.
Hmm.
I'm going to watch this.
Yeah.
Even with knowing the backstory, I was like, I'm gonna watch this movie no matter what happens. I have to see this movie in theaters. But still, there's just there's some things that could have been done differently, done better to really elevate this movie. And I'm not saying it would have been elevated to Top Gun status. It can, anything can happen, anything's possible. But to elevate it more so where it stands out among the movies that all the movies that have been released this year, all the movies are gonna be up for best picture, best screenplay, best whatever category. You insert category here, insert actor here. I
Like
remember we had talked about the comments. Was it Quentin Tarantino said something about movies having movie stars, or
movies, no,
there's
oh
no
yeah, there's no
no
movie
movie.
stars no longer exist. Yeah, that the Marvel
Yeah,
movies, those actors aren't really movie stars. People come
I
watch the
mean,
characters, not those actors.
I mean, I don't know if I agree or disagree with that statement because, like I said, I watched this movie. I specifically saw this movie because I had seen Glenn Powell. I've seen Glenn Powell before. I've seen
Hmm.
Jonathan Majors, and I am a big time. I'm a Jonathan Majors diehard stan. I'm a Jonathan
Uh,
Majors acolyte. I'm out here. Plus, but also because that's an actor I can look at and be like, this guy kind of looks like me. We got both
right.
have big noses. We're both black men. We're both,
Hmm.
we're rugged, good looks. Look at me. But yeah, it was just
Both
I
yoked.
didn't both yoked. You see it, but I didn't just go into this movie just because I want to see a fighter pilot movie or whatever. I saw this because of those two gentlemen specifically. I was like,
Hmm.
I've seen them before, so I guess I don't know if that adds to his argument or takes away from his argument that are no superstars
Movie
actors,
stars.
movie star actors.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just think it didn't benefit, it didn't help Devotion at all that Maverick came out the exact same year it did, you
From a
know?
strategic standpoint, if I now this is me putting my movie exec hat on.
Uh-huh.
If I was releasing this movie, I would have waited until February.
Of
I would have
next
waited.
year,
Yeah, I would have waited until February of
you would
next
have
year.
pushed it back. That's
I would have pushed it
that's
back a
not a
little
good
bit.
look
At the
though.
same time, though, when you think about it, what's coming out in February? Ant-Man.
Ass man.
Um, what else is coming out in February? I forgot. That Megan movie will be out by then
Mm.
too. Um,
I get what you're saying, but a lot of these like these schedules are already like predetermined. There's
that's
like
true.
Top Gun Maverick is gonna come out in, when did it come out? Like March or April, something like that.
It came out in May. But look how
May.
many times look how long it's been in
Yeah, but
theaters.
they
Look at the
didn't know that. They're like,
theatrical
oh,
run.
it'll come out in May, whatever. It'll have its thing, and we'll have our thing Devotion in November or whenever it came out. Like they had no idea Maverick was gonna do what it was gonna do, and that it was gonna blow up and be this cultural phenomenon that it went on to become, right? And I'm saying, but that unfortunately, I think affected the way Devotion, uh, uh, what's it called,
Performed.
performed exactly because after you go see Maverick, you expect this certain kind of thrill and exhilaration from a fighter pilot movie, and you go watch Devotion, which is a completely different thing, and that's not what you're getting, right? You're getting something that's a lot more internal and a lot more subdued, right? And is a lot more focused on an actor and a character as opposed to the spectacle and the situation and being a thrill, right? And so, I think that worked Devotion's against Devotion's favor, but
I definitely agree
it's a
with that.
great movie, a great movie nonetheless.
I can definitely agree with that. It is honestly, it is a great movie. Like I said, great, two fantastic actors. The cast that supported them was great too. Joe
Yeah,
Jonas
I was
did
gonna say
really
you a
pretty
big Joe
well.
Jonas head.
Oh heck yeah, man! Since high school, I've been on the Jonas Brothers kick. I've been rocking with them.
You've been a day one. You an OG.
I'm telling you, my favorite song, even though it's technically a cover of another song from
Uh-huh.
Busted, but it's year 3000. That's my favorite Jonas Brothers
Oh, year
song. The
3000
song
goes
goes
so
so
hard.
hard,
Yep,
burning up. That's go so hard.
burning up.
SOS. Ooh. Now let me not start
Love
getting
bug.
onto
Love bug
yeah,
is
love
good.
bug. Let me not get on my fanboy activity. Um, but yeah, everyone did really well. So big shout outs to Jonathan Majors, big shout outs to Glenn Powell, Glenn for GL, Glenn for Green Lantern.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Matt is like the number one Glenn Powell for Hal Jordan
I am
truther. He
absolutely
wants this so bad.
I am the chairman of the campaign for Glenn Powell to be Green Lantern. I've been saying this since the first day I saw this man act. Then I saw him as Hangman. I was like, bro, this is the guy. This is the
He
one
said,
you
"This
put
is
in.
Hal Jordan,
This
dude."
is how Jordan. You put him in the cockpit. You put him in the pilot seat right now. I know. I don't know if James Gunn sees the tweets from our account, but he's got to know. He's if there's any tweet that he needs to see or any
It's
message
that
that he
one.
needs to get from our account, it's this one.
Yeah.
Glenn Powell is Green Lantern. Glenn Powell is Hal Jordan. Make it happen.
So if Glenn Powell ever becomes Green Lantern, just know that it was Matthew
I did. It's
who
me.
made it
You heard
happen.
it. You heard it at this place. We
He
made this happen. We
Matthew
started
made it
this.
happen. So
I'm about to
just
be like
FYI.
that video of Drake where he's walking back and like, look at this, look around you. We started this. We made this. That's gonna be me when in
when Glenn
2027
when
when we
Glenn Powell
get
becomes Hal Jordan.
yeah, when we get 2027, we get the Green Lantern movie with John Stewart, Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, all of it.
Hashtag Glenn Lantern.
Yep. Hashtag Glenn for GL. Hashtag Glenn Lantern. You see it. Speaking of Glenn Lantern, speaking of military and war films, what is your favorite or favorite war films,
Uh
if you have any?
yeah. I have really basic answers. I have two. Probably Full Metal Jacket
Mm,
and Apocalypse Now.
okay, those are great ones actually.
Yeah,
I Full
you
Metal.
know.
I think everyone says Full Metal Jacket. That's a
I
good one,
know, of course, yeah, Full
but
Metal
it's
Jacket.
it's great. It's that's one to mention. I like Full Metal Jacket. Everyone in that movie was acting for real. Vincent, I think that was probably the first. No, the first movie I saw with Vincent in it was um Men in Black.
Vincent D'Onofrio. That was the first
Yeah,
movie I
Vincent
saw with
D'Onofrio.
Vincent. Yeah,
And then I was like, oh, this guy's great. I like him. Then I saw that and I
yeah, of
was like, oh, he's fantastic. And obviously
course.
we've seen him through his acting career now. Um
Kingpin,
Kingpin, that's that Wilson Fisk.
Midpin.
Midpin. Oh no, no.
But
That's my
yeah,
goat. But
Full
yeah,
Metal
he's
Jacket and what did I say?
he's Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Kubrick joined and Francis Ford Coppola joined.
I
How
see it.
about you?
I see the vision. I'm not gonna say Top Gun and Devotion because that we just discussed all those.
You
But yeah,
said, but Top
Top
Gun
Gun
and
is
Devotion.
my favorite, and the Devotion is my favorite. But if we're talking about other films prior to these two, ooh, what do we got? Saving Private Ryan.
That's a
Um,
Spielberg joint.
mm-hmm. Um, dude, 1917.
Did you like 1917?
So I watched a little bit of it, and I was like, dude, I need to watch this whole film. I think it's great. From what I saw, I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah.
I just feel bad that I haven't seen all of it.
You're like,
I
so it
always
gets partial credit.
I was like, yeah, it gets partial credit, but I mean Sam Mendes, man, he's great. He's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Sam
So
Mendes, that's the goat.
I'm here for that. I'm here for that movie. Um, dude, what else? There's too many war movies. I watched Lone Survivor a
Oh
while
my
ago.
God, the Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah, I
You can
watched
tell me your
that.
favorite military movie is what's that? The American Sniper.
Oh man, look, see, I didn't say it's my favorite. I've watched it though. But yeah, and those two I just watched them because like I knew their biographical films. I
Uh-huh.
knew they were pretty emotionally charged films.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh, I'll watch it. It's something to see, something to cry
Something to do.
about. Yeah. I also watched 13 Hours and Zero Dark 30.
Oh,
Both of
Zero Dark
those.
30 is a good one.
They're
Yeah.
pretty intense films.
Oh, The Hurt Locker. I'm
Mm-hmm.
stupid. The Hurt Locker is
Nerd
great
Locker.
too. That's one of my faves
Um,
as well.
Platoon.
Platoon. Yeah.
Jarhead, man. I was actually just talking to to one of my Marine buddies earlier about Jarhead. I was like, dude, is this
Were you asking him about eating crayons?
nah
I'm
he
joking.
I was like, dude, how much of this is accurate? He's like, just about all of it. That's how life was
Really?
in the Marines. I was like, dang, dude, this is freaking crazy. And that's why I never signed up for the military.
You said, nope, I'm
Not can't do
a-okay.
it. I
Don't
am
need
good.
that shit.
I'm fine where I am. It's the same way when I was watching Top Gun. I was like, I could never do this. I will stay on the ground. That's
Yep. You said,
fine.
I'll watch this as a movie, but I will never want to do this in real life.
Maybe put me in some VR. Let me fly a VR
Yeah.
F-18.
Yeah. Thank you for your service or whatever, but like, I'm good.
Yeah, appreciate it, but
Yeah.
no, thank
Appreciate
you.
you. No,
It's
thank
not my
you.
portion. But yeah, I mean, those are Does Iron Man 1 count as a war movie?
No, it doesn't. So I'm gonna have to
They
cut you
veto
off on
that.
that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to veto that.
Does Captain Marvel count as a war movie?
Oh, does Captain America: First Avenger count as a
Hey,
war?
it said, hey,
It is. It
it's
is
in
a.
World War II. I
It is a
mean,
war movie, I guess.
and it's literally,
No, we're
you
done.
feel
We're
me?
done.
I think we've strayed off the path so
Yeah.
far. I think that's still a good place to, end this episode. I've heard us ramble on and on too much. See, this is why Graham and Araya keep us in check.
Yeah, they're much needed.
When they'll be back in the future. Like I said earlier, they are out.
They're
I think I said
okay.
them. They're fine. Yeah, they're fine. They just got stuff going on. They'll be back here in a little bit. But yeah, we do appreciate you guys tuning in with us as always. Please leave us a 5-star review. Send this podcast to your friends, to your family. Share it with your pets, your dog, your cat, your
Your
turtle,
coworkers, your
your
ex, your
coworkers, everybody,
in-laws.
your grandma. Shout it
Hmm.
from the mountains. Let the world know about this podcast. Post it in your group chats. Share it everywhere. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at the Podtastic Four with the number 4. On Instagram and TikTok at the Podtastic Four, spelled out, as well as subscribe to our YouTube, the Podtastic Four. Go ahead and like our videos on YouTube, share those as well. We're trying to grow this channel, grow this space,
And grow that bank account.
grow that bank account, grow this
I'm
community of
joking.
Podvengers. Yeah, we really do this for you guys. Like I said, the tagline is the podcast by the fans for the fans, and that's what we strive to be. Fun, fan friendly, and we're going to make this really a welcoming place for everyone. We've got some big things coming up in the works. I will say right now we have an Avengers. Gosh, I can't talk. We have a giveaway going on right now, and we will be posting about the prizes soon. Whenever we get around to posting about that, and we're looking to host some fan events in the future. Any movies coming out, we're trying to make these movies available for anyone who wants to see it in the areas that we host them. um you know just hold a theater and just let y'all come and enjoy some of these great movies coming out. um but yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Podtastic Four. Bye guys.
Deuces.